I'm really jealous of how well Korean people can learn new things. Anytime you want to talk about comparing two different cultures, in my experience, especially when I'm in my head or with friends comparing American culture and Korean culture, it's not like on certain issues Americans are right and on certain issues Koreans are right, although those issues do exist. In general, you have this way of Korean people doing it and this way of Americans doing it. And the Korean way of doing something has good things, has bad things. The American way of doing something has good things and bad things. And if you really want to take the best course of action, you want to do something in the middle. And I think it's really hard for people to think this way because it's not just a Korean thing, it's a human thing where we have a problem or we need to do something and we want to know the exact answer. How exactly do I do it? What path do I follow? Just like that. And I think in Korean culture, it's even more, that feeling's even stronger. Which university is the best? Seoulde. Which university is the best in the world? Harvard or Stanford or, that gets confusing. But most of the time, Korean people want a direct answer. How do I learn English? Well, there's a million ways to learn English. There's different methods, all this stuff, right? But really, it's not just a Korean thing, it's humans. Humans want to know the direct answer. And when you look at the spectrum of how Korean people do things as far as education, how Americans do things as far as education, you see that Korean people are really good at taking information from people above them and trusting them. If a professor says something, he's right, that's it, done. If you're if the person above you says something at the company, you go, that guy's right, I'm going to listen to him, no problem. If an English speaker tells you something about English, Korean person says, that's it, no problem, I'm going to do that, right? Americans, on the other hand, we're more independent thinking, which is good sometimes. But a lot of the times, it really gets in our way. And independent thinking is oftentimes a euphemism for stubborn and kind of close-minded. And even if we have an expert, even if we have a professor in that field, a PhD in that field, tells someone who's maybe not a PhD in that field, maybe doesn't even have a great education, the Americans can still think, nah, I'm right. That guy with a PhD, he don't know nothing. I'm right, I know everything. And this can turn out to be a big weakness. The first example I want to give about this is when we start to talk about climate change. In most of the world besides America, climate change is done. Climate change is happening. Summers are getting hotter, winters are getting colder, the ice caps are melting, and almost every scientist and everyone in the world knows pretty much that it's humans that are doing it. We're driving cars, we're polluting, it's making CO2, and now climate change is happening. 20% of Americans don't think there's enough evidence that climate change is due to humans. Okay? I found this quick poll about it, and it's kind of weird when you ask the wording, but basically 20% of Americans don't believe in it. They're not even sure if climate change is happening. I think another 30% or 40%, I'll link to the information. That other like 20 or 30%, so 20% just say climate change ain't happening. Another 20 or 30% says, it's not humans. You know, it's happening, but it's not our fault, so we don't need to stop polluting. And then about half say, yeah, it's happening, it's our fault, let's do something about it, right? That's fine. But could you imagine that in Korea? If you met someone and you asked them, is climate change caused by humans? And they said no, you would think they're a fool, because Korean people, and non-Americans in general, actually, but Korean people are really good at listening to someone who's above them in authority and rank in intelligence and saying, okay, you got it. This is a huge problem because in America, this isn't just like some buffoons or something. In America, 50% of senators, right? 50% of senators also think there's not evidence to show that humans are causing global warming. Now, I don't want to get too much into it, but the senators are the people, high government officials who make the laws. They are the more powerful side of it. Those guys are some of the most, they're the top 100, top 200 most powerful people in America. And because they're some of the most powerful people in America, and America is the most powerful country in the world, these people are some of the most powerful people in the world. So this American stubbornness, this ability to not believe experts, not believe people who are higher than us, or however you want to say it, is really possibly going to lead to humans, to climate change getting out of hand, and then humans becoming extinct. This American stubbornness is so bad that can happen. And it's not just about climate change. Like, I want to give another example with me. I do this a lot. This is where I'm jealous of Korean people. When I'm speaking Korean, sometimes my Korean friend will correct me. And then I'll realize my mistake and I'll go, oh, I used the wrong word. Oh, I used the wrong grammar. Oh, you know everything. You speak Korean. That's great. Most of the time that happens. Sometimes I'll be speaking Korean. My Korean friend will say, oh, no, this is how we say it. That's not the correct way. And I will say, no, I know the correct way. I study Korean. I know everything. This doesn't help me, really. Generally, it doesn't make any sense. How could I know more about Korean than them? But it's this innate stubbornness that Americans have, this innate ability to not believe in what other people are telling you, even if they are smarter in that field or smarter in that subject than yourself. Because Americans are so independent and we're so stubborn that we can go on without believing that. So that's how I'm jealous. I'm jealous of Korean people's ability to learn, because when someone above them tells them something, they believe it. Case closed, done, take notes, move on. But like I said, everything's a spectrum. There's a downside to this Korean perspective. Because of this, because there's this, I think it's 주입식 교육, right? This idea that the professor tells me something, put it in my head, and then I spit it out, right? That works well for certain subjects, but as far as when it comes to learning English, this way of thinking where you have very little confidence in yourself makes it so that you want to kind of avoid difficult and unnecessary things. So when you're learning a language, you have to take risks. You have to. You have to go, okay, here's this new grammar. I'm going to try to say it now. And if I succeed, it's going to be awesome. If I fail, okay, I learned a lesson, right? I see a lot of Korean people tend not to do that. So they get stuck in these problems. They get stuck in these lurches that they never get out of. So the example I can give in English is present perfect progressive. English, as many of you probably know, is difficult for Korean people because English has, I think, 12 grammar tenses, like past, present, future, but also present progressive, simple present, simple past, simple present, all these. So there's about 12 of them, and they're really hard, and a lot of them are kind of unnecessary. You can explain yourself in the same way without using them. And when Korean people figure out a way to avoid it, they just keep using that avoidance method instead of trying the new thing that's difficult that will make them sound a lot better and a lot more natural. So present perfect progressive. Somebody might ask you, hey, what you been up to? And the native speaker will say, oh, I've been learning to swim. Now, I have been learning to swim. There's way too much stuff going on for Korean English learners. I know a lot of Korean people who speak English quite well, but they will still almost never use this tense because there's another way to say it. And it's closer to the Korean style. So instead of saying, I've been learning to swim, Korean people will say, these days, I am learning to swim. Because it's easier because, for one thing, I am learning to swim is present progressive, which is a simple grammar tense that we use all the time. I am eating, I am drinking, I am blah, blah, blah. So Korean people are very comfortable with that. But on top of that, these days, which translates to good day in Korean, something like that, good day. So that's something you use in Korean a lot, so they're very comfortable with that. So you have this problem where Korean people, because they don't have that confidence, because they don't have that American stubbornness, they're too afraid to use that present progressive tense. And then they never use it, and they keep saying, these days, I am learning to swim, which sounds robotic. But also, two, because they never use it, when they hear an American say it, it throws off their brain a little bit because they don't know that context. And then they end up worse at speaking English. And that's a problem, right? So in that way, the American style of learning is kind of better. And as I said before, when Korean people are so quick to trust people above them with knowledge, especially from somebody who knows more, they can quickly learn it, and because of that, I'm jealous. Is Korean style right? 100%? No. Is American style right? 100%? No. But something in the middle, and I try to live in the middle, and that's what I've learned from studying Korean people and Korean culture. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. No matter what, please subscribe, and please leave comments. It's so awesome when I get to see those comments and they're in Korean. I get to practice Korean, and I have fun trying to answer as many as possible. Okay, have a good day.